there's people in YouTube land. Now, one of my first videos on YouTube was knife throwing, and it's not one of my first ones. One of my actual, well-made video was knife throwing, and I'd like to show you how you can get started. Now, first thing is choosing what you're gonna throw. There's many things out there in the world that you can throw, and I'm going to describe the types that you can throw. The first one, for the basic person, doesn't want to start, spending quite a bit of money, you have cutlery, such as forks and butter knives. Pretty cheap. Advantages and disadvantages. Advantages throwing forks are you have to throw it perfect, or it won't stick in the prongs. Disadvantages is it doesn't weigh that much. Prongs can get kind of bent, and sometimes the ends of them weigh enough where that just pierces right through it. Advantages with butter knives. They're nice. As long as you get the full tang, stank ones are good. They just feel nice. It's always nice. They're usually a little bit on the handle heavy side, so they're really nice to throw. And yeah, the only disadvantage is they don't weigh a lot. Next you have pocket knives. Now, the disadvantage of pocket knives is you have to get the right one. Don't get this. This is plastic handle. This is good for everything else, just not throwing. Don't go with plastic handle. Go with a nice metal handle, nice big click. It's a good knife. You can go into buck knives. Also, very nice. Just make sure you get full tang, meaning metal goes from here all the way down to heel. Okay? This one does not stop right here. It will break, and it will not be very good. Next thing you can throw is spikes. Okay, that's just the... You can throw scissors. I don't recommend starting with throwing scissors, just because they can get kind of costly pretty gosh darn quick, but you can throw them. Next classifying is spikes. Spikes are anything that are long, such as this pencil or this actual railroad spike. And the advantages of throwing spikes are really nice. Is usually they're a little bit easier to learn how to do, depending on the weight. And I'll be talking more and more about weight and later, and when we actually get to throwing and how the characteristics actually match the flight pattern. The only thing you really need to know about weight is weight makes things easier. Okay? It doesn't make things better, just makes things easier. So if you're throwing a chopstick, odds are you either can't get that far away, or you can't do it outdoors too much because of the wind. So just don't let that interfere with what you're going to choose. You can't throw spikes, a railroad spike. You can also get some screwdrivers and whatever else. But when you're beginning, try to get a lot of what you want to start out with. Okay, don't go out and buy, a professional knife throwing set and try with that. I have, and trust me, it is a huge waste of money. Alright? You want to start with something nice and simple and work your way up. Start with butter knives. Okay, I can buy a pack of 4 of these for 88 cents. Nice and cheap. You want nice, full metal all the way there. Perfect for beginners. Or you want to try forks. Forks are more for if you want to, practice precision throwing and everything else. You can start with pocket knives or buck knives. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they get costly really gosh darn quick. And when you're first starting out, you don't want to get disappointed in spending a lot of money on, a pack of knives and spending a lot of frustrating hours not being able to throw them. Okay? So just start with butter knives or forks because they're easier to throw. Even if you throw them wrong, they still might stick. And then you can work on more precision throwing, like the finished wave or like rotational throws and other things. So yeah, that's all I have to talk about now. Then the next video we're going to talk about selecting your target, the costs and prices, and advantages and disadvantages. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, shoot 'em high. Hello all those people in YouTube. Now that you've selected the object that you like to throw, whether it be a spike or knife, time to select your targets and advantages and disadvantages of selecting that said target. Now the most popular target, and well in doubt so, is called the end grain target or the sideways lock. I'll put pictures up here right now. Now why is this so favorable? Well, one, it's wood. It's not going to degrade over time. You could throw 1,000 darts into it, or nails, or whatever have you, and it doesn't seem to degrade. It just seems to make it easier to get in it as it gets wet. This is what you mean as end grain if you didn't get it from the pictures. Is this grain of wood? It's usually plywood. It does not mean that it has to be. These are all cut, stacked up in a frame, and put up there. Now, what is the disadvantages of having one of these? Well, if you have thinner knives, such as butter knives, or just really thin knives that really weren't meant to be thrown, but you still want to throw them, it can be damaging to those when you hit the side due to it being very hard and dense. It does not mean that I'm downsizing it, it just means that those are the disadvantages. Everything has them. Next target that I'd like to talk about is by far one of the cheapest, the plastic target. This is just a plastic garage sale sign, as you can see. Picked it up for about $2-3, and it works. You can throw whatever you want in here, it won't damage your knives, and it won't do anything. The disadvantages of which has wires. So if you do use plastic, set up like a wooden frame or something like that, and just put plastic in it and throw it at that. There you go. Next one is this plastic stuff. I call it plastic cardboard. I'll put a link up there what it actually looks like. I call it plastic cardboard because look at that. Bends, you can see all the little ridges in there, and it's pretty good. It can damage thin, kind of thinnish throwing things such as butter knives, but it's very unlikely to do any major damage, like bending the knife or screwing it out of whack. Usually it will just a slight bend at where the blade meets the handle, and that's about it. It won't get any worse from there. If it does, things kind of happen, but I've never had that done, and I've been using those kind of targets, and they're pretty cheap to buy. I mean, you could pick up like 10 of these, not 10, like 5 of these for like under $20. Home Depot. I don't know the price of where you are, but yeah, those are the advantages and disadvantages of those. The plastic disadvantage is it's kind of thin, so it won't last long, but you can, tape it up and everything, and it won't split or crack. Dead show signs of wear though. The cardboard plastic ones, the disadvantages of those is it can just split right down the middle, then you have to use a new one. And even if you're throwing, big old honky, professional throwing knives, weigh about 1 or 2 pounds, it'll last a good like 5 or 10, a good 5 or 10 of those, depending on how big they are and everything. With the smaller ones, such as the spikes or your forks or your butter knives, they will last actually quite a bit. I've never had it split on me with a butter knife. That does not mean that it can happen. But yeah, and so far the cost is go from there. End grain to log is, the end grain shoots kind of high depending on where you buy your wood, and the logs are kind of rare for people depending on where you live. The little stands that you get at Home Depot, Walmart, pretty cheap, available to just about anyone with a Walmart or any other store that might sell signs of similar nature. Part of it is the style of throwing that I would like you to try very first. Before you start spinning, before you start doing fancy moves just to see if they hit, I'd like you to practice this. Here we are finally to talk about knife throwing style. Now the style I'm going to show you can be adapted to any projectile that you will be throwing, except throwing stars, which I don't really classify as needing a dangerous amount of skill to actually do. I might be mistaken, but enough of that aside. Today we're going to be throwing, we got some knives, we got some spikes. Now this one is called the Finnan Wave. I'll link down in the description of how to actually pronounce it, or I might actually just title the video that. And all it is no spinning or very little spinning, meaning it's similar to like a half rotation or just no rotation at all, depending on your style of throwing it. Another reason why I like this style is there's so many variations of it. You can just use just your wrist, you can use your full arm movement, or you can do it overhand, underhand, sideways. It really doesn't matter how you do this style, as long as it does what's intended to do. So let's start talking of how you're going to hold it. We'll start with the butter knives. Okay. Now you can hold it a few different ways, whichever most comfortable for you, and whatever way you see gives you the most results. For me is, I do it about three styles. We have the bottom of the palm with the finger here. We have the middle of the palm, middle finger here, and scoot it up a little bit more is just about the end of my finger. Now how you want to do it is, it's all in the technique. Technique. No matter if you use your full arm to do it or you're just using your wrist, it really is all in the wrist. Now how you want to do it is really up to you. You can start going like this, draw back, and there you go. Or you can do more straight draw. Then you can just practice doing straight draw, and that will help you target out. For targeting, you can stick one arm out, like you're throwing a baseball, and just go like that. Like I said, there's so many different ways you can do it. Throw it from here. Throw it from palm. From your mid palm. And a whole bunch of other ways. Spikes are a little bit different in throwing than they are knives, meaning that you might need to actually choke up quite a bit on these to actually get what you're looking for, depending on your spike. But they all have the same basic grip of my style of doing it. You can put up your own way of style of doing it. This is just my way of doing it. You can either choke all the way up, halfway up, or just about to the end with all these, depending on how your style of throwing and how much power you actually put into it. For throwing knives or spikes, you don't need much power. You just need to let the projectile and its weight do all the work. Okay? Let's do it. You have, just from the tip, you have full choke. You have near the end. You have full choke again. Pretty good. We got 2 sticks on that. One actually went through it. There it is. And here we got one good stick. If one style doesn't work for you, don't worry. A whole bunch of styles out there. My personal favorite is called the flipper. Hold near the end of the knife and just kind of flip it. how many shots you do. If you at least hit one, it's a good day. Next on, favorite way of throwing spikes. It's nice overhand. Three out of four ain't too bad. Till next time, shoot 'em high, watch 'em fly. No matter how many shots you do, remember, if one hits, it's a good day.